You know that person who laughs at absolutely everything? The one who finds humor in moments that would send most people into a full emotional spiral. Yeah, they've probably been through some things. And I'm not talking about a bad haircut in middle school or an awkward breakup that healed with time. I'm talking about experiences that fundamentally rewire how you perceive reality. The kind that don't just hurt you once, but quietly reshape the operating system you live on. Let me paint the picture. Someone cuts them off in traffic. Road rage? No. They're already 3 steps ahead, wondering if that driver just lost their job, is dealing with a divorce, or is desperately trying to make it to a hospital on time. Because when you've survived real storms, other people's rain showers just land differently. What most people don't realize is that trauma doesn't just scar you, it trains you. The brain adapts. It doesn't break, it learns. People who've endured too much often operate on an entirely different frequency, not because they're damaged, but because their nervous system was forced to evolve early. It became a survival masterpiece before it ever had the chance to become a relaxed one. And beneath the humor, beneath the calm, something strange is happening. They develop an almost eerie immunity to chaos. Not immunity to pain, pain still registers, but immunity to being completely destroyed by it. Somewhere along the way, their brain learned a quiet truth. This won't kill me. I've survived worse. And that knowledge changes everything. Here's where it gets unexpected. You'd assume people who've been through hell would come out bitter, closed off, cynical, hardened. But often the opposite happens. They become deeply, almost aggressively empathetic. They can spot pain in others instantly because they've learned that language fluently. A half-second pause before you answer, a smile that doesn't reach your eyes, a shift in tone that most people miss entirely. They notice they're already filing it away, already planning how to check on you later without making you feel exposed. They understand silence, not just the absence of words, but the texture of it. Whether it's heavy, disappointed, irritated, or simply exhausted, they read rooms the way sailors read weather patterns. Most people walk into a space and see furniture. They walk in and feel the emotional temperature. And out of all this pain, something unexpectedly beautiful can emerge. Psychologist Richard Tedeschi calls it post-traumatic growth. His research shows that a significant percentage of people who endure major trauma don't just return to baseline. They move forward into a deeper version of themselves. Their priorities sharpen, their relationships deepen, their appreciation for small, ordinary moments becomes almost startling. They'll tear up at a sunset. A song will hit them like a wave. A quiet morning will feel sacred. And they won't even try to hide it. But there's another side to this story that doesn't get romanticized. Hypervigilance. Their threat detection system never fully shuts off. Ever notice someone who insists on sitting facing the door? Someone who has multiple backup plans for something as simple as a coffee date? That's not paranoia. That's a nervous system that learned, through experience, that safety is never guaranteed. And here's where it twists things. They almost always minimize what they've been through. It wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse. I'm fine, really. It's like they've developed an allergy to being seen as a victim. Survival taught them that being okay was necessary, so admitting pain feels like failure, even when the pain is real. Now let's talk about relationships. People who've been through too much often become intensely loyal or emotionally distant, sometimes both at the same time. They'll show up for you at 3 in the morning without hesitation, but ask them to express their own needs and suddenly they're impossibly busy. Why? Because closeness once came with consequences. When your early experiences taught you that connection could be unpredictable or dangerous, your nervous system doesn't relax when someone gets close. It braces. They want intimacy, but they're terrified of depending on anyone. Dependence in their history came with a cost, so they learn to need nobody. which sounds strong until you realize how lonely it is. But here's something remarkable. These people are often incredible at adapting to change. New job? Sure. New city? Why not? Entire life falling apart on a Tuesday afternoon? They'll handle it. And the humor, especially the dark humor, is unmatched. Not because they're insensitive, but because humor is how they take power back. When you can laugh at the absurdity of your own suffering, it loses some of its grip. Every joke becomes a small act of defiance, a rebellion against the things that tried to break them. There's another contradiction people rarely notice. They often obsess over small details while remaining strangely calm about massive uncertainties. They'll overthink which coffee mug to use, but stay eerily relaxed about not knowing where their life is headed. Why? Because they learned early that the big things are often uncontrollable, so they manage what they can. Control becomes selective. They are walking paradoxes. Tough, but tender. Guarded, but generous. Realistic, but still hopeful. They understand something many never learn, that life can be beautiful and brutal in the same moment. But beneath all of this strength, there's a quiet grief. Not the grief of losing someone, the grief of losing themselves. They mourn the version that trusted easily, the version that didn't scan rooms for danger, the version that laughed without checking the emotional temperature first. They grieve a softness they didn't get to keep, a freedom they learned about too late. How do you explain missing a version of yourself you barely remember? How do you tell someone you're homesick for a place that only existed inside your own mind? This grief doesn't destroy them. It shapes them. It makes them more intentional, more observant, more protective of peace. They value safe people because unsafe ones taught them the cost. And maybe that's the real psychology here. People who've been through too much don't just survive. They gain a complex, nuanced understanding of what it means to be human. They know strength isn't about never falling apart. It's about how many times you can put yourself back together, even when some pieces don't fit the same way anymore. Their survival became insight. Their pain became compassion. And without trying to, they became something rare. A lighthouse. Not because their life was gentle, but because they learned how to navigate storms that would have broken others. A lighthouse doesn't shine because it's perfect. It shines because it remembers the darkness. So the next time you meet someone who seems a little too comfortable with chaos, a little too quick to laugh at their own pain, a little too calm in uncertainty, understand this. They've earned that wisdom. They've been through too much. And somehow, they're still here. Still trying, still choosing hope. That's not just psychology. That's resilience in motion.